everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Geeking Out podcast. I am the Athletic Geek, and my guest this week is a gentleman that I met at Wizard World St. Louis a number of years ago. Both of us geeking out ourselves and trying to hold back tears before meeting Kevin Conroy, the best Batman of them all, and y'all can come fight me on that one. It's Brock of Organoid Zero. He been doing since that day. He's done a lot of the same stuff I have been doing. He's been doing film reviews and streaming, and just kind of part of this community of nerds and everything that everything that can make this community good. Brock is part of that, and Brock, thanks for doing this interview.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here, and I will fight along with you. Anyone that says otherwise, that Kevin is not the GOAT, you will go down.
You will go down. You will go down. He can switch between a Bruce and a Batman voice without sounding like Cookie Monster choking on a cigar.
Absolutely. It's just no one's gonna come near it. No one.
No one. So my first question for you is, what got you interested in this whole nerd genre? What got you interested in superheroes, comic books? What was the beginning of that for you?
The beginning of that was I had a mother who was very supportive of anything. I'm a kid of divorce, and I ended up with my mom most of the time, and for a thing we get into in our personal time. But my mom was just like, whatever I liked, she thought was cool and wanted to make sure that I got into it. I watched all the cartoons doing nothing but that growing up, and then got with DC because of growing up watching Batman the animated series, and then alternatively Spider-Man animated series as well. But it's just like anything that had these set of characters that had cool backstories and stuff like that, I just thought was just awesome. I was like, someone came up with that. That's really cool. One day I'd like to come up with that or come close to doing something like that. It's just, so it was like creativity to me was the coolest thing, seeing what people could come up with. It just blew my mind even as a kid. And that just kept on going into video games, movies, comic books, anything. It's just, I love watching what people can come up with.
Awesome. You sound like you have a very similar origins to me with the whole the Fox Kids lineup just basically being the gateway drug, if you will, to superheroes, because you had Batman, Spider-Man, and the X-Men all in one. Like, all in one television block, so very, very similar origin stories for us. What was, I'm sure you've watched Batman the Animated Series, front to back, several times over like I have. And we could do a whole episode just based on top 10 episodes or top 10 favorites or what have you. But if you had to pick, like, off the top of your head, some favorites, what would your favorite episodes be?
Oh man, I'm gonna have trouble thinking of what it is, but I want to say, The Man Who Killed Batman is one of my favorites.
Yes.
I want to say it's called Robin's Reckoning, where Robin got hit with the fear toxin, and he was. I want to say that
Robin's Reckoning was the origin story.
The origin story. What was the one where he got hit with fear toxin? I can't remember what it's called.
Fear of Victory.
Fear of Victory. Yeah, where he's talking about he used to walk on a tightrope, but he could barely stand on a chair.
Yeah, like he was it's because like his roommate was the star quarterback and got like the Scarecrow was using the fear toxin on athletes to bet against him.
Yes. And then I'm very bad at remembering episode titles, but it was the one where Harley captured Batman to try and impress Joker. I can't remember what the episode's called.
Mad Love.
Mad Love, thank you very much. Those are the ones that jump to the top of my head. I am absolutely terrible with episode titles, no matter what show that I watch. But yeah, and again, the Christmas special that is at the beginning of, I don't remember that being the first one I ever watched, but the Christmas special in the asylum with Joker, it's amazing.
So you get into Batman first. You said DC was you became kind of the a DC kid. What drew you to DC? Because that's a very, very controversial thing to say in the community in this day and age, due to the success from Marvel and their movies and lack thereof with DC.
Um, just back in the day, like I understand that they had the Spider-Man animated series and the X-Men animated series, but like in the animated world and like just stuff media-wise, period. When I was a kid, I was born 7 days into '91. I'm the definition of what a '90s kid is. I was just fed till I was stuffed with DC content versus Marvel. So I had like it just never stopped. And then I just thought I was one of those kids that thought Batman was the coolest thing when I was growing up because, again, he had the coolest toys. Any random suit, anything like that, and then when I thought it was cool, my mom thought it was cool, so she just got it. And to this day, I don't think it's the best one ever, but I can still watch a decent amount. Well, I can watch forever. I can't stand Robin. I can like forever because of Jim Carrey, but it's like I love going back to that original. Was it '89? The '89 Batman movie. I can watch that all day long and never get sick of it. Just those movies, the cartoons, are my childhood.
It's just a little sidebar on the toys. Were you like me, and did you ever get frustrated that you couldn't get just the straight up Batman? It's like, cool, I can get a Batman with a glider and a green costume, but why can't I get the one like what he's just wearing?
Oh yeah, it was cool. It's like, you want Arctic suit? No, I just want him. Yeah, but you've got like Arizona, like no, I just want Batman. Yes, you are very right.
Yeah, that was my trouble, because like, hey, there's regular Spider-Man I got, and I got regular Wolverine, and I got regular Superman, but why do I have 7 Batmans with 7 different colored costumes?
Exactly.
It was the Rainbow Batman before I knew what the Rainbow Batman was.
Oh yeah.
So okay, you were fed a bunch of DC stuff. What was there any other characters that really grabbed your attention through DC? And on the flip side of that, what was it about the Marvel cartoons that you just didn't connect with as much as the DC ones?
Well, I wouldn't almost say that I didn't connect with them. It's just that I had more of one side versus the other.
Gotcha.
Because I think quality wise, they were identical. Well, I will say out of the 3, Batman the Animated Series was the best of that original block of animated series. But it's just that it'd be really lame if I said another superhero that I connected with on the DC side was Nightwing, because that's not getting very far off of what you just asked me. But
same here. Nightwing is one of my. Dick Grayson is one of my like. I can't see myself through Batman, but I can see myself through Nightwing, Robin, Dick Grayson. I was careful not to say I see myself through Dick there.
Nowadays, you have to be a lot more careful when you say that. It wasn't back in the days like, yes, I love Richard Grayson. Who are you talking about? Nightwing. Oh, Dick Grayson. I'm like, yes, I can't say that I love Dick, otherwise people are weird.
Exactly.
But like, once the cartoons get a little bit further along and some stuff like that, like I dug Martian Manhunter. I liked getting older. I got into Green Lanterns because of a friend of mine, and I liked Kyle mostly.
Was Kyle your first Lantern? Because he was for me.
I don't know if he was the first Lantern for me, but I believe the first Lantern that I knew about was Hal. Okay. The first Lantern that I read about in a comic book that like actually read on a page was Kyle.
See, that was me with Green Lantern. I picked up my first comic book, and it was Kyle. Like in, I have a whole video dedicated to my first Green Lantern book on the channel. Check that out. But but first time I bought a Green Lantern comic book, it was Kyle Rayner. I'm just like, okay, well, he was Kyle Rayner, and then. Later on, I would find old books. I'm like, why are they calling Kyle Hal? Oh, Hal Jordan. Who's Hal Jordan? Oh, okay. And then, like, kind of, then this before internet, like, I kind of had to just put some stuff together in my head, like, through continuing to read the old books and then the new books. It's like, okay, so Hal is dead, and he's the okay.
Yeah, that was one thing that confused me when I was growing up with comics, because it's such a weird, like, total fork off the road how much more DC is into lineage with superheroes versus, like, Marvel, which is fine. It's both either way. It's just that was one thing when you're growing up, you're like, okay, so there's been, like, a couple of Supermen and then Superboy and Supergirl and like, there's been, like, 4 Robins. Why?
There's one Robin, but she wasn't in this universe, and
Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah.
it gets to be ridiculous. It's awesome, but it gets to be ridiculous.
So, mention Martian Manhunter. When did you start falling down the comic rabbit hole? Did you just see it at a store? Were you was your mom cool enough to get you a subscription? Because I know we grew up close to the same time. This is before we were kind of old enough to maybe right out the gate get on the internet and know about what a pull list is. So we would have to either deface our comic book and cut the thing out and send in for 12 issues of whoever, or go to the grocery store or go to Walmart and just hope and pray that they had the book you wanted, and sometimes they did and sometimes they didn't.
I am fortunate enough that my mom is in a family of 5, and she's the youngest, and my oldest aunt is 16 years older than my mom. So both of the sons out of that group of cousins were comic book readers. So I was lucky enough that when I visited them quite a lot, they had comics there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you remember any particular from, before you really got in the graphic novel rabbit hole, remember a particular comic book that you remember reading and thinking like, wow, this single issue was really, really cool?
I don't know if I remember a singular issue, but I do remember that my cousin had the issue of when Green Lantern found out that Speedy was on drugs.
Wow, okay. Please tell me he still does. And
I would imagine he still does. I have not been to his place in quite a while, but when I was growing up and he's like going through stacks of stuff, I'm like, wow.
if he's willing to part with that, I'm willing to discuss. Because
I would have to talk with him. To my knowledge, he has never gotten rid of a book that he owns, so I don't know.
That might be a little bit, yeah. It's another collector there, and it's a little.
Mm-hmm.
But that's such an amazing run from Danny O'Neill and Neil Adams. But so as you grew up, did you always stick with comics, or comics and superheroes? Were there times where you kind of lost a little bit of interest? Did you kind of, get away from superheroes as the number one and get into like more manga or anime, or was it just, or were comic books always a pretty high priority in your life?
As far as actually like reading comic books, that kind of died off. But like, I still like, as soon as the internet age came around, I was one of those people that when I was into something, I would go down 3-hour long rabbit holes of just looking up information.
Right.
And that was one thing that once I was like finally getting in and like playing some video games that had superheroes in it, that I kept up with stuff like that, and I would just keep going through it. Like, I haven't consistently read comic books in probably like 10 years.
Okay.
But it still was always there. I just did it through other means versus just reading the comic books. Like when trades would come out and people would say stuff happened, I would go just look into it. I mainly became more into gaming as I grew up, especially around when like the PS2 era of stuff started coming out, and it kind of just fell into that, and I got super into video games, especially like Mortal Kombat, some fighting games, and again, it just became another spot where I found a thing that had a roster of characters, and I was like, that guy's cool. What's his backstory? Spend 20 minutes looking at stuff. That's basically what it was. I'm a huge fan of lore.
Okay.
So as soon as I come interested in something, I deep dive quite a lot.
Okay, you mentioned superhero video games. What superhero video games did you play? Because When it comes to superhero video games, it's like it's either an all-time classic or it's a dud. Like, there's very little middle ground when it comes to superhero games. What were some of your favorites?
Some of my favorites, I'm going to be that loser that says it, but the Spider-Man 2 for the PS2 is one of my favorite games of all time.
That's a great game.
Uh,
All the Spider-Man games have always been, like, from the PS1 onward, have always been fairly solid for the most part.
Fairly solid for the most part, outside of I thought that Spider-Man 3 was kind of bleh. But
That's Spider-Man 3 in a nutshell, though. I mean, come on.
that is very true. Like the Batman games, like Rise of Shinzu, the Batman Beyond. I believe it was just was it called Revenge of the Joker?
Return of the Joker, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. That I played a lot. I was one of those kids that had a copy of Superman 64. Hulk Ultimate Destruction. But obviously, when I got older, the Arkham games and the Spider-Man PS4. But yeah, just random one-offs. Like there was old arcade games. Like there was Punisher side-scroller that I played when I was younger. There's a bunch of random ones, but none that really stick out.
Did you ever play X-Men Mutant Apocalypse? Because that one's one that always has a spot in my heart.
I did not, but I just remembered one that I love absolutely, and almost no one gives it the love it deserves. It was that Ghost Rider movie tie-in game.
Never played it.
It is God of War, but with Ghost Rider characters, and it works shockingly well.
Okay. That's a sleeper. That might be a sleeper hit I have to play one of these days.
Because it was a fighting like God of War, and then you had bike tracks in hell that played like Road Rash.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Mortal Kombat. You have a go-to favorite for Mortal Kombat? You have a favorite Mortal Kombat game? You prefer the old school, the new school?
The one that I liked playing
Mortal Kombat's
the most,
pretty hot right now. So we're dating the recording just a little bit here, but Mortal Kombat's hot right now. So what are your favorites from that genre?
My favorites from that genre, my all-time favorite is Ermac. He was the original red palette swap of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but he ended up getting rejiggered into a really cool, like, person that Shang Tsung stuck souls in. So he was like a person with 10,000 people in him that made him really powerful, but the main one of it was a king from one of the realms, so he just looked really awesome. He looked like a space wizard when they redesigned him. Kenshi was another one. He's a blind swordsman that got tricked into getting an ancient sword, and he has telekinetic powers. Obviously, Scorpion, Sub-Zero. I like Takeshi and Cassie from the latest games. Melina I liked quite a bit. From the original games, though, I did play Johnny and Liu Kang a lot.
Johnny!
Yes, I'm quite excited at the aspect of him being in that sequel. And then, yeah, one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm almost likely never going to get another one like it, there was a Mortal Kombat game called Shaolin Monks, where you played an entire...
I have played Shaolin Monks, yes.
Oh, it's so good. I want them to remaster it so bad, but it's never going to happen.
Speaking of Johnny Cage and Shaolin Monks, do you remember the part of that game where I think you're like I think you're fighting Goro, but it's like you have like the special fatality. And it's just like, you do all the work, and then Johnny Cage just comes in at the very end and gets all the glory.
Oh, absolutely. You go through that fight of, like, ripping up pillars and beating the crap out of each other, and he just, like, what? Where did you come from?
Now, we gotta save her. Is she hot? No, just...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
God damn, I love Johnny Cage.
He's good. He's so good. My favorite version of Johnny Cage, not gonna lie, is Lyndon Ashby in that original 95 movie. They did really good with him.
Yeah. I really like MK9 with Johnny.
That is another good one. I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out.
I'm taking you out to dinner.
Okay.
But yeah, I love that game. And did you mentioned Shaolin Monks? You have a favorite traditional Mortal Kombat game? I mean, it can be, by traditional I mean the fighting games. You know, it could be the first one, or it could be Armageddon or 11 or 9 or.
As far as the traditional games, I really, really like Deception. I think they had a lot of stuff in there that I wish they would try again. Like the conquest mode, give or take, Shujinko was a bit of a wet fart. I like the idea of
Not as
you
much as
being
not as much as Taven, but go on.
not as much as Taven. That is very true. Taven was the definition of a blank slate that I could not care about. But I like the idea of like you being a character and you could go to NetherRealm and like do stuff and like there's just you could run into Scorpion. It was like that was so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
That's definitely really be cool if they could do that with like multiple characters. Like you have a Johnny Cage conquest and a Liu Kang conquest and a Sub-Zero conquest and a Cassie Cage conquest and a Melina conquest. But
kind of like the career modes that they did in some of the later wrestling games where you had specific ones for characters. Yeah,
yes.
I would love that.
Yes, so, okay, well, you mentioned wrestling, and that's also a huge part of this channel. What got you interested in pro wrestling?
What got me into pro wrestling? Again, my cousins. My cousins were a gateway drug for a lot of stuff I'm into. But I always got to, again, them performing wrestling moves on me because I was a younger cousin that weighed 90 less pounds than they did. They just always were talking about their favorite wrestlers. My cousin Chris was he wasn't in a bodybuilding, but he kept good care of himself and lifted weights.
Right.
And his favorite thing to do was Scott Steiner impressions. So I got to hear
Did he do Steiner math?
And Booty Daddy every other time I was over there.
Do you do Steiner math? Please tell me he's done Steiner math.
He has done it before, yes. That might be my favorite promo of all time.
I think it's everybody's favorite.
Does he acknowledge how dumb that was?
He's got a T-shirt on ProWrestlingTees.com that has a picture. I'm sending you this link afterwards. You need to be made aware of this. The front of it is a picture of him with Einstein hair, and then the whole thing on the back, the whole promo is written out word for word.
Oh my, okay, I'm ordering that immediately. I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that is. I'm hoping he's still got his pro wrestling T-stores. I bought it as a gift for one of my friends that does streaming with me. But yeah, that's yeah.
If that is still a thing, I shit you not, and buy that immediately after this.
So okay, that's how you got into wrestling. You mentioned kind of some Scott Steiner. Who's some of your favorite wrestlers? Like what you grew up? Did you start in the '90s era? Were you kind of Attitude Era? Did you start the New Generation? Was it the Ruthless Aggression? Where did your wrestling fandom begin?
I caught some stuff periodically because of my cousins, but like the first ever Raw that I can actually remember watching was the Raw right before the SummerSlam where Brock Lesnar beat The Rock for the Undisputed Championship. It was Undertaker, Booker T, and Goldust versus the Un-Americans. Trish and Stacy had a mud wrestling match. And there was a fight between, it was Triple H and The Rock because they had the alternating, like, the people that they're not going against, they'll be on the outside causing interference.
Right.
There was some other, I can't remember what the other match is, but, like, after that was when I started consistently watching it. So it was, like, just post-Invasion, I would guess. I can't remember what year that was.
About a year after the Invasion. That was
about a year after the Invasion.
That was 2002 because Shawn Michaels is my all-time favorite, and he came back at SummerSlam 2002. So me being a Shawn Michaels fan, that pay-per-view was forever embedded in my brain.
Nice. Oh, there it is. That's as glorious as I hoped it would be.
So just so everybody knows, I just sent him the link to the Scott Steiner Pro Wrestling Tees T-shirt.
Dear Jesus, the whole thing is on the.
Yes, it is.
That is unreal. Okay.
So kind of getting back. I mean, we're all over the place, but sometimes that's what's good about this this particular podcast. Do you have any favorite wrestlers? And we'll kind of circle back to comic books here in a bit.
Yeah. The worst part is I have one that is not controversial, and it closely ties to the second one that is incredibly controversial, who I can't say anymore.
Got you.
I think you almost know the pair of people that I'm going to say.
Yes.
My favorite wrestler of all time will never be topped is Eddie Guerrero. I can't put into words just the joy of watching him and knowing the joy that he was going through getting to see people watch him and entertain people. I could watch all day. The spots were the same, but all day long I could see the stupid smash the chair on the mat, throw it at the other person, drop on the ground, all the dumb tactics like stealing the tires off of JBL's limo, all the stuff he used to do with China back in the day, even like his couple of matches he had back in WCW that I got to watch because of old tapes. Eddie was just the best. Just the best. I never connected that well with seeing, and I don't think I've ever been happier in wrestling when he got the title off Lesnar. I lost my mind.
Awesome.
It was, and Brock was the only wrestler I liked Brock Lesnar at first. That was back in the day, people, when Brock Lesnar actually took pins like on TV around that time. That's a rare time. And then when he won and you got to see like everything, like him dancing with his family, and you see the shots of him hugging Vince in the back, I'm like, ah. And then the other one, man, that I loved his theme, I loved his wrestling moves, I loved that he made it look like everything was real, it was Benoit, but I just can't talk about that anymore.
Right.
It's just like WrestleMania 20, that is ruined. Like, I have to imagine Eddie is hugging thin air in that ring. It's just so bad.
Or the not taking anything away from how you must feel as a fan, but like the running internet joke of pretend he's hugging Stevie Richards now.
There we go. That is true. That is very true.
Stevie Richards gets like no mercy. Stevie Richards gets all of that now.
Yes.
Now, do you still keep up with current wrestling, or is it kind of one of those, the current products turn you off enough that you don't follow it? Do you get into AEW? Have you gotten into New Japan? Have you gotten into any of the other stuff that's out there, or you still WWE loyalist? What's your current situation like with pro wrestling?
My current situation is Simon Miller, but I
stop putting over the competition. I'm just kidding. Simon's a great dude. But...
Simon's great. So that I got out of wrestling for a while, and I honestly, you want to know what got me out of wrestling? When the game started sucking. When it stopped being the SmackDown versus Raw games and it went to 2K, I stopped watching. It's just like, because it's stupid. I didn't enjoy the games anymore, so I stopped watching the wrestling. But then I fell out of it for a while.
People have quit watching for much less reasons, but go on.
Yeah, but then as of what got me back in recently, I never got into New Japan because I'm going to be honest with you, up until a few years ago, I didn't know it existed. I wasn't that huge, like, in depth of like the whole thing of wrestling fans. I know of more stuff that exists now.
Right.
But like, I listen to Simon every week do recaps, and then I need to switch over to Peacock now. I'm actually going to start watching wrestling more actively. I need to get off my ass and not just listen to Simon, but I can watch Simon Miller talk all day. But from what I can see and what I appreciate more as a steady product, I like AEW. I like AEW quite a lot. I like SmackDown. I don't really like Raw.
You're kind of echoing all of our sentiments. There's going to be somebody thinking you're a made-up person I'm talking to that follows my live stream going, why is he agree with everything you said? Did you create this? Is this a robot that's, the perfect geek robot, like your counterpart?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not, I assure you.
It's just like, it's so weird because it's like every time AEW, it's consistent. I like WWE still. They have a lot of people that I like, but it's like, as far as the disparagements with Raw and SmackDown, everyone, this past week, the same 3 matches have been on Raw 3 weeks in a row with slightly different variants. On SmackDown, the same exact feuds from WrestleMania are still going with fluid storylines. They don't have a damn clue what's going on Raw. I do not know what's going on. But like every week, Vince comes in and just goes, it's stupid. But you said it was stupid last week, and you helped write it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. How can SmackDown be that consistent? I honestly think it's because Vince still views Raw as his baby that's never going to be anything other than that. And then
Right.
he's just kind of like SmackDown's like there, even though SmackDown has got the Fox deal and does worlds better and has better writing. I think it's because Vince touches it less. I'm going to be honest.
I do not disagree with anything you just said. um, um, so getting kind of back to comics.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that, they're like I think all of us go through as we grow up, is we don't have the money to our own money to spend on comic books, and especially after they got taken out of department stores,
Yep.
our reading got less and less. But you'd mentioned that you would hear about stuff in trades. Do you buy trades? You say you don't like have a pull list or really read comics, but do you hunt down trades? Do you have any favorite overall graphic novels or runs that you've read through a trade, anything like that?
Not recently. Like, I have collections of certain stuff, but again, it's mostly just Batman things, and there's stories that are kind of older. Like, I want to say the newest, like, full, like, book of a full run of things was No Man's Land.
Oh wow, yeah, you are behind.
Yeah, like I said, I hear about things, and like that was the introduction. Okay, yeah, I am behind. Dear Lord. But like I still hear about stuff. Like the last comic that I bought because I wanted to have a copy of it just to put around because I liked them was when Damian died in Batman Incorporated.
Gotcha.
And it's like, again, I have a friend that's in the comics, and I still hear about it, and like I have a excess of like just borderline information, but it gets to a point of where I don't even know what I want to touch anymore
Right.
because there's so much.
Yes. Comic books have made it very difficult for new readers to come in.
Yeah.
Um, would you ever be open to reading your own trades, like at the suggestion of others, of hey, check this out, or are you more of a I'll catch it when they turn into an animated movie, or I'll catch the movie when it's incorporated into that? Where do you kind of
Um,
stand with that?
if it's something that I genuinely think is really good, I would consider it. It's just that I don't know if I also work. I
Right.
have a regular 5 day job that I work 10 hours a day, so I'm pretty tired when I get home. So
Right.
the struggle is, and you would agree with this, is that growing up you have less and less time.
Yes.
So I try and balance it with a number of different things, but it's like if it was like a run came out and I got told what it was specifically about and it interested me that much, yeah, I would pick it up and I would check it out. I don't know if that would then get me to get like the next intro in it and then to keep subscribing. Like the last time, oh boy, this is gonna date me even more. The last time I had a subscription to a comic book was just a regular plain old Batman in DC when the death of the family happened.
Okay. I mean, that's a long time ago now, but it doesn't feel like a long time ago, if that makes sense. I mean, it
Yeah,
was 8 years ago now, but at the time of this
yeah,
recording, but like it doesn't feel like it was 8 years ago. Like overall, like that's pretty modern compared to some other folks.
yeah, exactly. It's a lot better than like I said before that it was No Man's
That'd be a wonder review because that one's crazy. But um, so eventually, nerd culture has become such a big thing that we can do stuff like this and it not be considered all the way weird to most folks.
Land.
There's a plethora of conventions, there's a plethora of channels, just like mine, just like yours. What made you want to start your Twitch channel, and why did you choose Twitch over the other platforms?
Twitch was at the time is the easiest to set up in my opinion.
Okay.
Um, the systems are well, it's gotten a little bit different now because they used to be the best with like copyright and stuff like that, and now they've kind of took a downswing. But I don't use music in my stream, so it really doesn't affect me. But yeah, it was just the easiest to set up, and I had a couple of friends that had Twitches already, so they knew the workarounds and what I needed to do and stuff like that. And it's for a little bit, me and a couple of friends had, oh boy, we only completed one game, but we actually had a Let's Play channel for a little bit because we just wanted to do stuff. And then I liked talking over video games and like talking with people, and that was an easy way to do it. I took a bit of a break from it because I went through a lot of just pure stuff in my life that I took a break, but now I'm
Right.
going to be I've gotten back into streaming the last few weeks, so I actually am actively doing it now. And it just, yeah, I had a couple of friends that knew the workarounds and helped me do it, and then got me to get to what I needed to do. And like, that was with Twitch, but with YouTube, what got me to that is I got super into movies, and then I started watching AMC Movie Talk, which is basically
Right.
like an ESPN but for movies. And then they made a Facebook page, and then someone was like, "Let's do an after show," and I was like, "That'd be kind of cool." I don't know if people would like to hear the sound of my voice, but we'll give it a shot. And then that turned into me being a part of it, to later on the other guy leaving and me hosting it, and then eventually a couple of flip flues for following that same group of friends through a couple of things where eventually I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do it on my own YouTube channel.
There you go.
Why not? Yeah.
So I remember, sending personal messages with you. You were getting ready, and I'm probably going to butcher this again, even though we just talked about it before we started recording. You were trying to get enough followers to become a Twitch
Affiliate.
affiliate. Okay, I was getting ready to say partner again, but
Yeah.
that was wrong.
It's all good. It's weird.
Well, I know I have a lot of listeners that are familiar with the Twitch world and everything going on Twitch, but I also know I have a section that don't follow Twitch as much, including me. What is a Twitch affiliate?
A Twitch affiliate is you have gotten to a point of where you can possibly make money. You need to get to a certain amount of followers. You need to have a certain number of hours streamed, and then you need to to get to a benchmark. Then you would need to, in a certain, I want to say it was 2 weeks, you needed to maintain 6 people watching you. So it was basically Twitch saying, okay, we're going to give you something to incentivize you to do more, so we can make money off of you, and then you can make some money off of us. And then this is your incentivization to keep doing it, and then eventually, if you get really good, we'll let you be a partner where you'll make a good amount more money, you'll get us more traction, and then eventually we might help you keep doing what you want to do, like through maybe game codes. We'll talk to certain developers and be like, hey, that Twitch streamer streams your stuff a lot, you should send them something. And it's not just with like video games, like people do it through pottery, people do sewing, people do DJing. It's just that if you're into it enough and you follow it, eventually Twitch will be like, hey, we noticed you.
Not. Now, not taking anything away from Twitch, but in the last few months there was a big controversy with something just randomly happening to one of Twitch's biggest streamers and partners. And a lot of people have gone on to criticize Twitch because of that. From your experience as somebody who's a lot more active on Twitch, do you feel that the criticism is necessary, or do you feel that Twitch is still probably the best way to go if you want to actually get some fruits to the labor that we're doing with this kind of content?
Twitch is definitely a good one. YouTube is starting to get up there, but as far as like just having what you want to do in the easiest way to do it in a good congealed like area, just as far as like what I want to say options for is like figuring out what you need to do, Twitch is good, but the criticism is there. Twitch used to be a safe haven for people that wanted to do whatever they want and never have to really worry about copy content, stuff like that, because they weren't that strict with it. And then it was like, I want to say about a year ago. No, not even a year ago. was it a year ago? This past year or so, they started all of a sudden just slamming the hammer down on a couple of people that have been doing the same exact thing for apps for years, have had their whole entire careers on it, and then they just on an older stream they had music. It could have been a clip saved from 14 years ago. They found it and flagged it, and you got content ID'd, and you could have lost your whole channel just because of some
Right.
stupid stuff that was on there before all this crap.
And I know I was kind of being a little vague earlier, but I mean, I just at this point, like, it's public knowledge, and from what I've been reading, the dude's doing well on another platform. But Doctor
Yeah.
Disrespect, which I
Yeah.
can't say he's like somebody who I follow, but I am aware of Doctor Disrespect and his following. And then he just like all of a sudden like randomly gets banned with no explanation given. Like,
That is a really weird one because like he's one of the well, I don't know everybody on Twitch, but you obviously know who Dr. Disrespect is. He's one of those people that is very aware of what he is and is not going to back off of what he is. And like the first time it happened, he did something incredibly stupid, but in character to what he was as a presenter on stream. That person that he is on stream was accurate to what he did with the whole streaming from the bathroom thing. That was it. I still really don't know what
right.
happened this time
I don't think
around.
anybody really does. I just remember that was in this community, even though I'm not on Twitch, it kind of it bleeds over when you're checking out Twitter and the social media pages, and you're hearing when you're seeing Doctor
Yeah,
Disrespect trending, you're thinking one of two things: either he's dead, unfortunately, or
yeah,
he's done something very very heinous and he's getting canceled for it,
yeah.
and not one of those two happened. It seemed, at least not overall.
Yeah,
If he would have done something like completely and totally horrendous, like I don't think he'd still have a Twitter, or still be making money streaming.
yeah, exactly. So it just had to be he did something that either got he what happened is Twitch caught something that they're not making public, or something was public for a short while and they got rid of it fast enough to make it not get widespread, which and now in a day and age if you have something on your Twitter for zero point 0.5 seconds it's screenshotted by somebody. So it's really hard to believe that that happened. So I just that one's going to remain a mystery unless he actually says something, which he does not need to, so I don't think he's ever going to.
Right.
It's one of those things where don't burn bridges unless you absolutely need to because you never know what's going to happen. It could be something that like they're just having undecided and might go back on one day and yeah.
So tell us about your Twitch channel.
It's mine is not like a lot of other people's. Like I don't get a ton of traffic despite the fact that I'm an affiliate. I get the same couple of people around. I get some new ones, but I'm mainly outside of Outriders. I mainly just play single player stuff where it's kind of casual. It's a game that's got a story that I have opinions on, and I wouldn't mind getting others along with just genuine stuff that I did, things that I was into. It's a more very lax stream. I
Okay.
don't play competitive stuff because A, I'm not good at it. B, I would get irritated. And as much as some people do like watching channels just to watch people get pissed off playing challenging things, I don't have fun doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it can be seen when a person's not having fun. So I don't want
Right.
to try and
Right.
be fake. So it's mostly single player stuff and like some. I'm getting now that I got some adapters to shout out to Castlemania games because they're amazing. I'm going to be playing some more older school stuff that I didn't get a chance to touch. So it's mainly just a chilled single player talk around kind of thing. I've very inviting. Anyone have their own opinions. If I don't have anything to comment on it, I'll just be honest and I'll be asked if there's anything else they'd like to talk about because I'm going to be honest. If I don't know something, and nowadays I don't want to accidentally act like I know what I'm saying
Right.
because that could lead to bad things.
Right. Um. So it's very interesting, that you kind of play a lot of these games by yourself. Because I mean, there's been a couple times on YouTube or Facebook since I started blogging and making videos. I've tried to do some live streams with games and what have you, and like when there's nobody around, like when there's nobody active in chat, there's nobody with me to where I'm bouncing, stuff off of somebody. I find myself like, okay, I'm very awkwardly playing WCW versus NWO Revenge, and
Yep.
there's nobody in here. I'm gonna stop now because I feel like someone's just. I feel like someone I'm not doing anything, but I feel like eventually someone's gonna come in, awkwardly see me in silence, and be like, "This dude's weird. Don't subscribe." So I can never, unless I've got someone with me or someone on the call with me. I can't keep streaming. So, what is it about your channel where if maybe when the chat's not as lit as the kids these days say, how do you keep going and keep playing and keep your nose to the grindstone, trying to think, well, hey, nobody's watching now. Someone might check this out later, and someone might be entertained.
Yeah.
How do you keep that going?
That's why I try to play games where I think something might happen, like a Resident Evil or like a Horizon, where there's a chance where I'm going to get absolutely mauled by something at a moment's notice, where I could make a funny joke or something out of whatever. I try and get something where I can always be making a comment on what's happening. Because I kid you not, I am in the back of my head almost always close to having a panic attack if no one's in the stream, because that's why I liked having the Let's Play channel, because there was 4 or 5 other guys that were with me when I did it. And yeah, that's hard. It is so hard because there's a big old fat zero that sits on the corner of your screen and no one's watching, so you know it's not happening. And it's one of those things where you just have to be you have to put on a brave face. You want to do this, you have to be good, and you have to figure out what the hell you're going to do. It's a test. It's hard, but you're going to develop your own personality doing this, and then if people come in and they like it, you're going to have to realize what people like about you and what they don't, because you're going to say some stupid shit when you're trying to just stream on your own.
Right. What are, you kind of mentioned, the games you try and play. Are there any games you haven't played yet that you kind of want to let us in on that, you might be playing in the future? Ones that you just want to, or just ones that God, I'd love to be able to stream this game.
There are some that are like that. I would love to stream playing Legends of Dragoon someday, but I have to figure out a good way to do it. But there's some that I'm reticent to do. Again, I will play games like Overwatch or something like that if I knew I was playing in a group that had my friends in it and my friends in it alone.
Right.
Because I wouldn't want to stream and then I have to be part of a headset conversation with a person that I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because A, I wouldn't know what to talk with them about, and B, they're overhearing me talking to a Twitch chat, which would probably irritate the crap out of them.
Right. So, the name, Organoid Zero, where did that come from?
That came from Zoids. That was one of my favorite animes growing up, and it was a part of the Toonami block of stuff that came out when I was in elementary school and middle school. And the season, or should I say, version of Zoids that I watched the most was New Century Zero, and the main Zoid in it was a white tiger machine that was called Liger Zero. And the thing that was special about it was it had this system inside it called an organoid system that let it adapt and change and make it an overall better machine. And it was a thing that was special comparative to the other ones. So then eventually I'm like, I need something that sounds cool. And I was looking back, I'm looking on my shelf at stuff that I watch, and then I'm actually looking at it right now. I have an old toy from the 90s of that exact Zoid, and I'm like, Zero. I like Zero, but that's not it. And then I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, organoid. That's a word that's not on a lot of things. I don't think it's in anything other than Zoids. Organoid Zero. I'm like, that works. Nice. That I could do something with.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna have to have you back on here for projects in the future because I've had way too much fun talking to you, and I know we can play off of each other well, especially if we want to review some movies or things of that nature down the road. But this is about you. If anyone who's listening to this who hasn't checked out your Twitch channel yet, just tell them, here's your final sales pitch, I guess. You could say.
Absolutely. If you are into, I'll go with my Twitch and YouTube. If you are into Twitch and you don't mind casual laid-back conversation with mostly single-player games, mostly Resident Evil, and things along those lines, and a lot of the PlayStation exclusives because I am a PlayStation kid at heart. Organoid Zero, I don't think it has to be capitalized either way. It is ORGANOIDZERO. And then the exact same thing on my YouTube channel where when it comes on, I do episode-by-episode recaps of RWBY. I do movie reviews with my buddy Mike called 0 Hour, where it's basically around an hour of us just reviewing movies that came out. I have 2 other series on there. One is called Fresh Takes, where me, my co-host, or somebody had something that they held dear to their heart, and then the other person has not seen it or doesn't know a lot about it.
That's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, and you take them through it. Like, the very first one we did was on my favorite anime of all time, which is Gurren Lagann. I took a buddy of mine through it. It means the absolute world to me. We watched all 24 episodes, and we did an episode-by-episode review of it. And the other one, which is 0 Stars, which is the exact same thing as Fresh Steaks, but opposite, where we look up something absolutely god-awful and then go through it and then watch it all the way through. Like, the most recent one we did was Mortal Kombat Annihilation because the movie was coming out, and we're just going to be, one we're looking at doing in the near future is an anime called School Days, where the Japanese and it was in Japan at first, and then the series was so bad, the actual just script was so bad that when it got sent over for the dub, they told the American company they could say whatever the hell they wanted, and they didn't care. And it is the most stupidest, funniest thing you'll ever see because there's no plot in any of the episodes. It has nothing to do with what they were thinking. They just rehashed or revamped lines all throughout it. I highly suggest it.
I'm interested in this now, so... All right, well, thank you very much for doing the podcast. Like I said, I hope we can get you back on, because I know you have those ideas, I have those same ideas, so there's definitely, to quote Conrad Thompson, there's some meat left on the bone that we can, for as far as us working together in the future, but... glad to see you're doing well. Glad to see we're not crying anymore because Kevin Conroy's 2 feet in front of us.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And I appreciate you coming on, man. And just thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It was an absolute blast, man. I'm glad we got to meet, and I'm glad we're doing stuff like this. It's been awesome.
It is awesome, and definitely go subscribe to his YouTube, and if you have the money, go subscribe to Twitch. That's one thing I know about Twitch is subscribing costs money, but following is free. Follow him on Twitch.
Yes, exactly. Follow me. If you want to subscribe, go ahead.
And I'll have the links to his Twitch and his YouTube in the description box below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe for more content from all walks of the geek culture realm: pro wrestling, gaming, anime, comic books, everything. And follow me on my social media pages: Facebook.com/AthleticGeekA9, Twitter @Athletic_Geek89, Instagram @AthleticGeekA9. And if you would like to help this channel out financially, I am on Patreon, Patreon.com/AthleticGeekA9. Thanks to Brock from Organoid Zero, and we will see you all next time.